tonight's InfoWars Nightly News, I wanted to come on air and break down some of the top stories of the day, because each one of these is incredibly important when you understand the news behind the news, the story behind the story, or as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. First off, Forbes, very prestigious in journalism, has come out and said that we need to have a national conversation about the 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition that's now actually over 2 billion rounds of ammunition. And Forbes goes on to say that they went and researched, and indeed Homeland Security has purchased this, and that it's not a rumor. But Raw Story, Media Matters, this is an admitted White House front, Politico, MSNBC, Slate, have all come out in the last week and said that I'm insane, there are no bullets. And there are no armored vehicles by the thousands being purchased, which Forbes also links to the federal government's own press releases about this. So incredible psyops going on, because if the people realize the government's arming for a war with the people, they don't want our guns because of the children. They know crime's dropped 49% the last 20 years because of more gun ownership, FBI's own numbers. They want the guns for a system where only the state has power. That has a name. It's called oppression, it's called despotism, it's called tyranny. So this is a big deal that the White House is responding to this and having its mouthpieces, its propaganda arms, lie and say that it doesn't exist. And it's now blowing up in their face as even AP, Denver Post, Forbes report on it. Now AP whitewashes it and others whitewash it, but not Forbes. And they're saying there should be a national discussion about the drones, the armored vehicles, the checkpoints. People are waking up to the gathering storm around us. Very, very exciting. Speaking of the truth coming out and government hoaxes being exposed, Al-Qaeda was created by the people that run our government. It was created by the global crime networks in 1979. That's declassified. The Taliban was basically put into power in Afghanistan. And I put in films like Road to Tyranny 10 years ago that Al-Qaeda and Taliban work for the globalist and are embedded in our government. Now it's admitted they work for them in Libya and Syria and everywhere else. So I deserve an apology. I'm not looking for an apology. I just want people to understand, 12 years ago, I started putting this information out because it was the truth, even though it was unpopular. Well, now it's all coming out. So what are you going to do about it? And Mohammed Karzai, who's not a good guy, he's a puppet of the globalist, he's been double-crossed by him, so now he's coming out saying what we know is true. The bombings the last year, bombing government buildings, blowing up hotels, assassinating Afghan leaders by the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, he's come out and said in a speech that the United States, or the elements that run it is more accurate, and NATO are running Al-Qaeda and Taliban and staging these events. So more and more it's coming out. We knew a decade ago that our government was growing the opium in Afghanistan when they took over. Went from 10% of world production to over 90%. Because so many troops spoke out, they were forced a few years ago to have newscasts on CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, BBC, Fox. We've shown you the clips. You can look them up online. Government admits we grow the opium. They don't talk about how it then shows up here. You see, they ship it in, and then when you use it, they put you in their private prisons. And the criminals go out and rob to pay for the overpriced black market product that until the 30s was sold in drugstores everywhere. There was much less drug use. You could walk in and buy bottles of opium or even heroin. Cocaine, Coca-Cola, had a large amount, something like 1/4 gram of pure cocaine in it until the 30s. And then they said, wait a minute, we're going to make this illegal to make bigger profits. It's just amazing how phony the drug war is. So all of that is coming out. There was another article, jets out of French news agency AFP, jets bomb Homs district, Al-Qaeda claims killing Syrian troops. So Al-Qaeda is there waging war as the tip of the spear for the globalist and claiming big victories against Syrian troops. Just absolutely amazing. But you and I are told we've got to give up our liberties because Al-Qaeda is waiting under every table. That Al-Qaeda is going to murder our family if the TSA perverts, who they admittedly hire convicted felons, can't take your 5-year-old daughter or son into a closed room to properly grope them or put them through naked body scanners. Now, shifting gears into some big economic news, last year the record number was 46,609,000 plus people on food stamps. And by December, those are the latest numbers we get. The numbers are always about 4 or 5 months behind. It had already surged to 47,791,000 plus, which is over 1 million more. And that's the goal, to domesticate our society. Continuing, LA Times reports, Republicans resume effort to repeal Obamacare. But the problem is that's mainly on the surface. It was Republican leadership that wrote Obamacare, along with the Democrats. Mitt Romney was part of that, 7, 8 years ago. Because, or it's longer, because big insurance companies want to make you buy your product from them and have no choice. That's why premiums are set to double in 2013. And it doesn't cover pre-existing conditions. And it's a total scam, and it has payroll tax increases on the poorest Americans. So keep Republican feet to the fire to really repeal it. It's incredibly unpopular. Death panels are now admitted, and not act like they're repealing it. See, 21st century warfare is economic, not just military. And it's more economic than it's ever been. And so they simulate where Republicans and Democrats are fighting so they can control both sides, the social engineers. Just like they have to have a war to grow the opium and control the people. They're the real target in Afghanistan. So they put Al-Qaeda in. And then they move them in the airlift of evil after the U.S. took over. Upwards of 40,000, some estimates are. Our government did, on record, look it up, airlift of evil, into Pakistan to start the next destabilization there. And then the West can attack Pakistan, which further radicalizes their public, to then go join the Al-Qaeda armies that actually work for the globalist. I mean, it seems complex, but once you get it, and you realize that episode 1, 2, and 3 of Star Wars are that exact plot, a children's movie gets it, but adults can't get it. In fact, whenever episode 3 came out, I remember he was at Cannes Film Festival, seeing an interview with him, and also reading the text of it, where George Lucas, they were like, we don't understand the last 2 episodes, 2 and 3. What do they mean? And he said, what does it mean? The government stages attacks against itself as a pretext to take over and enslave and overthrow the republic. And they were like, we just don't understand that. Because conditioned people don't even get how history really works with the Reichstag, Gulf of Tonkin, all these other events. So Republicans resume effort to repeal Obamacare. Hope that isn't just for political points. Hope it's the real deal, because it will bankrupt this country. It already is. Banks saved, but Europe risked losing a generation. And that's an article out of Reuters. Oh, they saved the mega banks. The people are having to work 6 days a week. Their taxes are going up, not because of their pensions, not because of even big government. That's part of it. That's to get you dependent. 90+% of the debt in Europe, from Greece to Spain, is derivatives of the banks that are calling the shots. So you bail them out, then you're in debt to them because your money was given to them to bail them out, but now it's their money, so you got to pay them interest. And then now you're their debt slave. Unbelievable article there. Here's another one. Greek Prime Minister says no more austerity because after 2 years of massive tax increases, the economy shut down. Less money came in. Now the mission's been completed. Now they can selectively cut taxes on insiders. That's what's going on, because they've done this in hundreds of other countries the last century. It's in IMF World Bank plans that got leaked in 2002. That's how we know the script, the playbook here. Here's another one. Why Italy could be the next bad boy of Europe if they don't go under all the austerity and raise the taxes that the elite are exempt from. And speaking of being exempt, here's a story out of International Business Times. Just General Electric alone in here has over $100 billion, $108 million in just the last couple of years of tax-free money offshore with the law written where they're exempt. And their executives are exempt, and they've written the laws, and it's GE that heads up Obama's council and formerly controlled MSNBC that's saying, raise taxes on the rich, we deserve more taxes, because they call the rich people making $125,000 a year, who they then transfer that money to them in banker bailouts and other deals. Local government taxes you and puts it into foreign investments. Over 70% of the tax money you pay, county, city, federal, ends up going to offshore combines, in investments, bond packages, you name it. That's the comprehensive annual financial reports exposed, my 2-hour film that's free online and here at prisonplanet.tv. You better watch it. It's not as entertaining as the new Hollywood movies, but it'll actually set you free and empower you financially. So there's that huge article. GE, Pfizer, Microsoft, Apple, Google, they ain't paying jack crap. On average, they pay about 1% tax, but I pay 40% federal now. And I had my accountant do all the math, about 64% in taxes. And guess what? It's only going to go up. And so I can't hire more people. They all pay taxes, and there's taxes on taxes. It continues. iPhone facing its biggest threat yet with the launch of the new Samsung Galaxy, which could be controlled by the eyes. You're like, oh, that sounds great. The problem is they can dial in the future. You will buy and sell with a retina scan. So it's not the technology's bad, it's that who's controlling it is bad. And of course, some of the biggest news, South Korea begins military exercises, ends the armistice, which was a ceasefire. We are now in a state of war with North Korea, run by the insane Kim Jong-un. And we've got demons on our side that'll use the threat of this nut to take our rights, and he'll use the threat of the West to enslave his people even more. Unbelievable. But notice as the global implosion happens, the Middle East wars heat up, the war with and conflicts in Asia heat up, Japan and China, North Korea, South Korea, U.S. It's all heating up and all being orchestrated, all being manipulated, because all these criminals think alike, even if they're against each other. U.S. says UN sanctions will bite after North Korea threatens nuclear attack on the West Coast. All that'll do is starve more people. It'll just starve more of their poor, pathetic people. Just unbelievable. North Korea threatens nuclear strike. I mean, that's amazing. Meanwhile, we've got real threats like 4 big asteroids that came record close to the Earth. You had all these other big asteroids blowing up in the skies over Florida, over LA, over Russia. The globalists are not the kings of the universe. They act like they are. They're a joke. When you see Kim Jong-un pathetically starved for credibility, hugging Dennis Rodman, a burnout nobody, it shows you how pathetic the all-powerful state is in a country where they say he's God. But to his people, Dennis Rodman must be God if the dear leader is hugging him. The ultra-patheticness of this. A kid who just a year and a half ago was at a boarding school in Switzerland having his shoes put on for him. He first got there and was all goofy looking, and I'm the dictator now, and just a year later, he's ha 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 ha. I mean, you look at those videos, totally demonic. That's what big government, that's what statism is. Whether it comes in the form of corporations that are out of control or government. My God, get back to the Bill of Rights and Constitution. Now back to Aaron Dykes and the conclusion of InfoWars Nightly News on this Monday, March 11th, 2013 edition. And if you're not a subscriber to PrisonPlanet.tv out there, you get 11 memberships for $5.95 a month, and it supports free speech on our own platform. So please become a subscriber today, and I want to thank all of you that are subscribers. The films, everything, PrisonPlanet.tv. Back to Aaron.